Kent, I understand you've learned something new about the source of the contamination. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Thanks, Daryl. And yes, we have learned something new about the source of the contamination. Mostly the fuel tank that's most likely responsible for leaking the fuel into our water supply. The city discovered the fuel tank buried next to an underground water storage area. Now, I was talking with our mayor yesterday, Kenny Bell, and one of the questions I asked him at the end was how frustrated he was. And he began to describe this fuel tank and how they found it. You've got to check this out. Here's the mayor.
1995 was when they think that the tank was buried. Why? Right? The tank is 500 gallons. 4 guys could empty, and move that empty tank no problem by hand. It doesn't make any sense that happened. It was buried. It was cemented over. There was a staircase. There was 3 feet of earth put over it to be never found again. How does that make any sense? So of course the frustration. You're sitting there like, this is one of the dumbest things ever. Why would you even think to do that?
Okay, Kent, so dare we ask, is there any possible end to this crisis?
Well, there are hints, but nothing definitive yet. The armed forces have their water purification plant back up and running, and they've extended their mission to December 23rd. Now, they've extended their mission a couple of times, so they think they could be here at least until around Christmas time. Now, the current holdup is between the city of Iqaluit and the government of Nunavut. The government has a long list of items with the water system they want Iqaluit to address before removing the do not consume order. Now, the city says they can hold off on a few of those items because they're not necessary to get the water flowing in a healthy manner. They're more long-term. So they're negotiating what needs to be done. And then you got to throw in the difficulties of remoteness. The experts to analyze the system have to be flown in from the south. The health inspector is from a different community in Nunavut. Even when it comes down to exchanging information online, you can't send a lot of technical information online from Nunavut because our internet speed is so drastically slow.
Okay, Kent, so what's the real-life effect for residents? How are you all holding up?
The cracks are beginning to show. I mean, take recreation. We had to close down the pool and the gym because the recreation staff had to be retasked with the job of distributing water. Now, between the armed forces and the government of Nunavut flying in all this water and producing water here, we have enough water and we're going to continue. But the questions are, how long can the Army stay for? How long will the government of Nunavut continue to be willing to charter planes full of bottled water at great expense? And of course, when can we use the pool again?
Now, Kent, there is one positive thing to report. What's going on with the recycling over there?
Well, just a little bit of backstory here for you, Daryl, because to understand why it's so important to keep plastic out of our landfill, you need to know the story of that landfill. Our dump is horrible. It's a temporary mess in a bad location that has been due for replacement for years, and the replacement keeps getting delayed. And it's been known to catch on fire from time to time and burn uncontrollably for days. Now, the way I usually describe the dump is, it was a phrase I picked up from one of the oil rig firefighters that they brought to put out the dump last time it caught on fire. And what he said is, you guys don't have a landfill, you have a dump. Now, the Arctic co-ops have teamed up with one of the shipping companies, and they had been collecting plastic bottles to ship down south for recycling to keep them out of that disastrous dump. They had managed to fill 5 sea lift containers and were out of space. But between them and the government of Nunavut, they managed to get a few more sea lift containers. So a very important piece of the puzzle, keeping the plastic out of the landfill, seems to be under control for now.
All right, Kent, thanks so much for this update. Always appreciated.
Koyanamik, anytime.